The alarm clock buzzed at 5:30 in the morning, just like it did every single day. Maya rolled over and hit the snooze button with her eyes still closed. 5 more minutes. That's all she needed. But then she remembered the morning shift at the cafe, and how Mr. Peterson always showed up at exactly 6:15 for his black coffee and blueberry muffin. If she was late, he'd have to wait, and that sweet old man deserved better than that. She dragged herself out of bed and stumbled into the tiny bathroom of her studio apartment. The face staring back at her in the mirror looked tired. 3 years of waking up before sunrise had taken its toll, but Maya couldn't complain. This job paid her bills, and more importantly, it gave her the flexibility to do what she really loved, helping people in her community learn English in the evenings. The streets of downtown Seattle were still dark as Maya walked the 6 blocks to corner. Brew. She liked this quiet time of morning, before the city woke up and filled with noise and rushing people. The cafe sat on a busy corner, sandwiched between a bookstore and a dry cleaner. It wasn't fancy or trendy like those big chain coffee shops. Just a simple place with 12 tables, mismatched chairs, and walls covered in local artwork that nobody ever seemed to buy. Maya unlocked the front door and flipped on the lights. The familiar smell of yesterday's coffee still hung in the air. She went through her morning routine on autopilot, turning on the espresso machine, checking the milk supply, arranging the pastries that the baker had dropped off an hour earlier. Everything had to be perfect before the first customer arrived. By 6 o'clock, the cafe was ready. The espresso machine hummed softly. The pastries looked inviting behind the glass display, and Maya had even found time to water the half-dead plant by the window that her boss kept forgetting about. She poured herself a small cup of coffee and leaned against the counter, watching the sky slowly lighten outside. This was her life now. 28 years old, working as a barista, living paycheck to paycheck in one of the most expensive cities in America. Her parents back in Taiwan probably imagined something different for her when she moved here 15 years ago. They'd sacrificed so much to give her opportunities, but Maya didn't see her life as a disappointment. She was doing exactly what she wanted to do, even if it didn't look impressive on paper. The door chimed at 6:14. Mr. Peterson was early today. Maya smiled and started preparing his order before he even reached the counter. Black coffee, blueberry muffin, warmed up for exactly 20 seconds. He'd been ordering the same thing for 2 years straight. "Good morning, Mr. Peterson. How's your granddaughter doing?" The old man's face lit up the way it always did when someone asked about his family. He pulled out his phone and showed Maya about a dozen new photos while she rang up his order. This was what Maya loved about working here. Not the coffee or the money, but these small moments of connection with people. The morning rush started around 7. Office workers grabbing their caffeine fix before heading to their desks. College students ordering complicated drinks with extra shots and alternative milk options. Tourists studying the menu like it was written in a foreign language. Maya handled them all with the same patient smile, moving efficiently behind the counter, calling out orders, making small talk when people seemed like they wanted to chat. Around 9:30, things finally slowed down. Maya's coworker, Jamie, had arrived for his shift so she could take a quick break. She grabbed a croissant that had a slightly burnt edge, the ones they couldn't sell, and sat at her favorite table by the window. Her feet were already aching. She pulled out her phone and scrolled through messages from her evening students. Chen needed help with his citizenship test next week. The Rodriguez family wanted to know if she could add an extra tutoring session before their daughter's school interview. Mrs. Okafor had sent a long voice message in her thick Nigerian accent, thanking Maya for helping her fill out job applications. These messages made everything worthwhile. Maya had learned English the hard way when her family first moved to America. She was 13 and understood maybe 10 words. School had been terrifying. She remembered sitting in classrooms completely lost, while teachers talked and other kids laughed at jokes she couldn't understand. Her family couldn't afford fancy language classes, so she'd learned from watching TV shows, reading library books, and asking patient strangers to repeat themselves over and over. But somewhere along the way, something clicked. English became easy. Then she started picking up Spanish from her neighbors, French from a roommate in college, Arabic from the family who owned the grocery store on her street, Portuguese from her boyfriend at the time, though they'd broken up years ago and she'd kept the language. Mandarin was her first language, so that made 6 total. She'd never set out to become fluent in so many languages. It just happened naturally. like collecting seashells on a beach. Now she used these languages every single day. At the cafe, she'd help confused tourists figure out what to order. In the evenings, she'd teach immigrants like her younger self, helping them navigate this complicated country where everything from doctor's appointments to grocery shopping felt like solving a puzzle. She didn't make much money from tutoring. Usually people paid her whatever they could afford, and sometimes that was nothing at all. But money wasn't the point. Maya, can you take over? I need to run to the bank before it gets busy. Jamie was already untying his apron. Yeah, go ahead. She tossed her half-eaten croissant and headed back behind the counter. The late morning crowd was different from the early rush. More relaxed, more likely to sit and stay a while. Maya wiped down the espresso machine and reorganized the pastry display, moving the almond croissants to the front because they were getting close to their sell-by date. The cafe was almost empty now. Just two college kids with laptops and headphones, and an older woman reading a newspaper in the corner. Maya appreciated these quiet moments. She could hear the jazz music playing softly from the speakers, something her boss had put on and forgotten to change 3 weeks ago. The same 12 songs over and over. She'd memorized every saxophone solo. She glanced at the clock. 11:15. Another hour before Jamie got back. Then her shift would be over at 2. After that, she'd go home, nap for an hour if she was lucky, then head to the community center for her evening tutoring sessions. Same as always. Same as yesterday and the day before that. Maya caught her reflection in the chrome of the espresso machine. Her black hair was pulled back in a practical ponytail, and she had a small coffee stain on her shirt that she'd definitely gotten during the morning rush. She looked exactly like what she was, a tired barista in a small cafe living a simple, unremarkable life. If someone had told her that morning that everything was about to change, she would have laughed. Change happened to other people. People with ambition and connections and college degrees that actually led somewhere, not to 28-year-old baristas who spent their free time teaching English to strangers for almost no money. But life has a funny way of surprising you when you least expect it. The door chimed. Maya looked up from the rag she'd been using to wipe the counter. A woman walked in, pulling a small black suitcase behind her. She looked to be in her early 60s with short gray hair and tired eyes. She wore simple clothes, just jeans and a plain navy blazer, the kind of outfit that could belong to anyone. There was nothing remarkable about her appearance at all, but something about the way she moved caught Maya's attention. The woman looked exhausted, yes, but there was also a kind of tension in her shoulders. Stress maybe, or worry. She stood just inside the doorway for a moment, looking around the cafe like she wasn't quite sure she was in the right place. Maya smiled automatically, the same welcoming smile she gave every customer. Good morning. What can I get for you today? The woman approached the counter slowly, still pulling her suitcase. When she opened her mouth to speak, the words came out halting and uncertain. I need coffee, please. Her accent was thick, and she stumbled over the simple English words like they were obstacles in her path. Maya noticed her hands were shaking slightly. The woman pulled a small phrase book from her jacket pocket, Portuguese to English. The pages looked worn, like she'd been flipping through them desperately. Something shifted in Maya's chest. She recognized that look of frustration and helplessness. She'd worn it herself once, a long time ago. Without thinking, Maya switched languages. Bom dia. Posso ajudar? Good morning. Can I help you? The effect was immediate and dramatic. The woman's eyes widened and her entire body seemed to relax. Relief washed over her face like someone had just thrown her a lifeline while she was drowning. Você fala português? The woman's voice cracked with emotion. You speak Portuguese? Sim, eu falo. Por favor, sente-se. Você parece cansada. Yes, I speak it. Please sit down. You look tired. The woman actually looked like she might cry. She pulled out a chair at the nearest table and practically collapsed into it, setting her suitcase beside her. Maya came around from behind the counter, suddenly not caring about cafe protocol, or whether her boss would approve of her abandoning her post. She sat down across from the woman and switched fully into Portuguese. My name is Maya, take your time. Tell me what's wrong. And then the woman started talking. The words poured out of her in a rush, like she'd been holding them back for hours and finally found someone who could understand. Her name was Helena. She'd flown in from Brazil late last night for an important business meeting. But everything had gone wrong. Her translator had canceled at the last minute, some kind of family emergency. The hotel had somehow lost her reservation, claiming they had no record of her booking. Her phone wasn't working properly on the American network, so she couldn't make calls or access her email reliably. The meeting is in 3 hours, Helena said, and now she really was crying, tears running down her cheeks. 3 hours and I have no way to prepare. No way to contact my colleagues. No way to even print the materials I need. I don't speak English well enough for this. This meeting is everything I've worked for. Maya handed her a napkin and let her cry. She'd learned that sometimes people just needed to let it out before they could think clearly again. What kind of meeting is it? Maya asked gently. Helena wiped her eyes. A business partnership. Very important. Worth millions of dollars. If I miss this or mess it up, it's over. Years of work gone. Maya glanced back at the counter. The cafe was still quiet. The college kids hadn't even looked up from their laptops. She thought about Jamie, who wouldn't be back for at least another 45 minutes. She thought about her boss, who was probably in the back office doing paperwork and wouldn't notice if Maya stepped away for a bit. Then she thought about being 13 years old and lost in America, desperately wishing someone would just help her understand what was happening. She made a decision. Okay, Maya said firmly. We're going to fix this, all of it. But first, you need to eat something and drink some coffee. You can't think clearly when you're this stressed and tired. Trust me on this. Helena looked at her with an expression of disbelief and desperate hope. You'll help me? Yes, I'll help you. Maya stood up and went back behind the counter. She made Helena a perfect cappuccino and heated up a ham and cheese croissant. She brought them to the table along with a glass of water. Eat. Drink. Then we'll make a list of everything you need, and we'll handle it one thing at a time. As Helena ate, Maya could already see her mind working through the problems. Phone, hotel translator, printing, documents, meeting preparation. It seemed overwhelming, but Maya had learned that most overwhelming things became manageable when you broke them down into smaller pieces. She grabbed a notepad from behind the counter and started writing. Helena talked between bites of croissant, explaining exactly what she needed. Maya asked questions, took notes, and started forming a plan. Neither of them realized it yet, but this chance encounter was about to change everything. Not just for Helena, but for Maya too. Sometimes life's biggest moments don't announce themselves with fanfare and drama. Sometimes they walk through the door of a small cafe on an ordinary Tuesday morning, pulling a suitcase and speaking a language that only one person in the room happens to understand. Sometimes, helping a stranger becomes the beginning of something extraordinary. Maya looked at the list she'd written. It was longer than she'd expected. Hotel reservation, working phone, translator for the meeting, printed materials, document review, contact with colleagues in America and Brazil, and somehow Helena needed to prepare for the most important presentation of her life. All of this in less than 3 hours. Most people would have looked at that list and said it was impossible, but Maya had spent years solving impossible problems for people who had nowhere else to turn. She'd helped families navigate immigration paperwork in 3 different languages. She'd translated medical documents at 2 a.m. for panicked parents whose child was in the emergency room. She'd talked people through job interviews, legal proceedings, and citizenship tests. This was just another problem that needed solving. Okay, Maya said, pulling out her phone. First things first. We need to get you a hotel room. Do you have a preference for location? Helena shook her head. Anywhere. I just need a place to shower and change before the meeting. I've been wearing these clothes since yesterday morning. Maya nodded and started scrolling through her contacts. Most people didn't know this about her. But 3 years of working at a cafe in a tourist-heavy neighborhood meant she'd built up an interesting network. Regular customers, their friends, local business owners. She'd helped enough people that now, when she needed something, she had people she could call. She dialed the number for the Pacific Inn, a mid-range hotel about 6 blocks away. The phone rang twice before someone picked up. Pacific Inn, this is Robert speaking. Hey, Robert, it's Maya from Corner Brew. How are you doing? Is your daughter feeling better? Maya switched to English, her voice warm and friendly. Maya, yeah, she's much better, thanks for asking. That advice you gave my wife about the fever really helped. What can I do for you? I have a guest here who flew in from Brazil, and her hotel completely lost her reservation. Is there any chance you have a room available? She needs it just for today. There was a pause, then the sound of typing. Let me check. Actually, yeah, we just had a cancellation about 20 minutes ago. I can get her in a queen room. When does she need it? Right now, if possible. Give me her name and I'll have it ready in 15 minutes. Maya looked at Helena. What's your full name? Helena Oliveira da Silva. Maya repeated it to Robert, thanked him profusely, and hung up. She switched back to Portuguese. You have a room at the Pacific Inn. It's a short walk from here. Robert is holding it for you. Helena stared at her. How did you? You just called and they had a room? Just like that? Maya smiled. Robert's daughter had a high fever last month. His wife didn't speak much English and was terrified to take her to the doctor. I went with them and translated everything. Sometimes helping people comes back around. She made a check mark next to hotel on her list. 1 down, 6 to go. Now the phone. What carrier do you have in Brazil? Helena pulled out her phone and showed Maya. It was one of the major Brazilian carriers, but clearly the international plan wasn't working properly. Maya looked at the settings, tried a few things, but nothing seemed to fix it. Okay, different approach. There's a phone store 2 blocks from here. The owner is from Mexico and we talk sometimes when I'm on my break. Let me call him. She dialed again and this time switched to Spanish. Hola, Carlos. Soy Maya. ¿Cómo estás? The conversation flowed quickly in Spanish. Maya explained the situation and Carlos said to bring Helena by and he'd see what he could do. Maybe a temporary SIM card or a quick fix to get her international calling working. He'd squeeze her in even though the store was busy. Perfecto. Gracias, Carlos. Te debo una. Perfect. Thanks, Carlos. I owe you one. 2 items checked off. Maya looked at the clock. It had been 20 minutes since Helena walked through the door, and they were already making progress. But the harder stuff was still ahead. The translator, Helena said, I need someone professional. Someone who knows business terminology. The meeting is with American executives who don't speak Portuguese. Maya bit her lip. This one was tricky. Professional translators usually needed to be booked in advance, and they didn't come cheap. But she had an idea. I know someone, she said slowly. Her name is Lucia. She's a retired translator who used to work for the United Nations. She lives about 30 minutes from here. She's helped me before with some of my students. I don't know if she's available today, but let me try. She dialed Lucia's number, hoping the older woman would pick up. After 4 rings, she did. Maya? This is a surprise. How are you, dear? They spoke in Portuguese since Lucia had grown up in Portugal. Maya explained the situation. The desperate businesswoman, the canceled translator, the crucial meeting in just a few hours. Oh, that poor woman, Lucia said. I'm actually supposed to have lunch with my sister today, but... You know what? She'll understand. I can be there. Where's the meeting? Maya looked at Helena. Where's your meeting? The Westfield Tower downtown. Conference room on the 15th floor. Maya relayed the information to Lucia, who said she could be there by 1:30. The meeting was at 2, so that would work. She'd even come by the cafe first to meet Helena and get briefed on what she needed to know. Lucia, I can't thank you enough. What do you charge for something like this? For you? Nothing. You helped my grandson with his college application essays last year. He got into his first choice school because of you. This is the least I can do. Maya hung up and turned to Helena. You have a translator. She's one of the best, and she'll be here in about 45 minutes to meet you. Helena's eyes were wet again. I don't understand. Why are all these people helping me? They don't even know me. Because I helped them first, Maya said simply. And because that's what people should do for each other. Now what about the printed materials? What do you need? Helena pulled a tablet from her bag. I have everything here digitally, but I need physical copies. The presentation deck, the contract drafts, some financial projections. About 80 pages total. There's a print shop 6 blocks from here. The owner is from France. We talk about French literature sometimes. Maya was already texting. I'm sending him a message now to see if he can do a rush job. The response came back quickly. Yes, he could do it, but his printer was having some issues with certain file formats. Could they bring the files in person so he could make sure they printed correctly? He needs to see the files, Maya told Helena. Do you feel okay to walk? We can go to the hotel first, drop off your suitcase, then hit the print shop and the phone store. Everything's close by, Helena nodded. She looked overwhelmed but hopeful, which was a major improvement from the desperate woman who'd walked in 30 minutes ago. Maya glanced at the cafe. The 2 college students were still absorbed in their laptops. No other customers had come in. She walked to the back office where her boss, Mr. Kim, was doing paperwork. "Mr. Kim, I need to take an early break." "There's an emergency." He looked up, concerned. "Everything okay?" "There's a woman out front who needs help. She's lost, doesn't speak English, has a huge business meeting in a few hours. I'm the only person who can help her." Mr. Kim had owned this cafe for 15 years. He'd seen Maya help countless customers with everything from directions to calling their families back home. He sighed and nodded. "Jamie will be back soon. Go." "But Maya, don't make this a habit." "I won't, thank you." She grabbed her jacket and went back to Helena. "Let's go. We have a lot to do." They stepped out into the Seattle morning. The sun was fully up now, and the streets were busy with the mid-morning crowd. Helena pulled her suitcase behind her, and Maya led the way, her phone in hand, already planning the most efficient route. As they walked, Helena kept glancing at Maya with this look of amazement. "You really speak 6 languages?" "Yeah, English, Mandarin, Spanish, Portuguese, French, and Arabic." "How? When did you learn all of these?" Maya shrugged. "Just kind of happened over time. I moved here from Taiwan when I was 13. Had to learn English. Then I lived in a neighborhood with lots of different people, and I just picked up their languages. It's easier when you're actually talking to people instead of just studying from books." "What do you do? Are you a professional translator?" "No, I'm a barista. This is just, I don't know, something I do. I help people in my free time. Teach English classes at night, mostly to immigrants who can't afford regular classes." Helena stopped walking. "Wait, you're just a barista? You're doing all of this and you're just a barista?" Maya felt a little defensive. "Yeah, is that weird?" "No, I'm sorry, I didn't mean it like that. It's just, most people wouldn't stop their whole day to help a complete stranger like this, especially not someone who's just working a regular job." Maya started walking again. "My family struggled a lot when we first came here. People helped us. A neighbor who barely knew us helped my dad find work. A teacher stayed after school for hours to help me with English. A lady at the grocery store used to slip us extra food when times were really tough. We would have been completely lost without those people. So now I help when I can. That's just how it works, right?" They reached the Pacific Inn. Robert was at the front desk and greeted them warmly. He had Helena's room ready, gave her the key, and told her she could check out any time before midnight. Helena ran up to her room, dropped off her suitcase, and was back down in less than 5 minutes, looking slightly more put together. Next stop was Carlos's phone store. He took Helena's phone, worked on it for about 10 minutes, and got her international calling working properly. He also set her up with a temporary data plan so she could access her email without issues. When Helena asked how much she owed him, he waved her off. Any friend of Maya's gets the friend discount, which is free. The print shop was their next challenge. The owner, Pierre, looked at Helena's files and frowned. "This one here, it's in a format my printer doesn't like. See how the margins are off? If I print this now, it's going to look terrible." Helena's face fell. These were crucial documents. Maya leaned over to look at the screen. "Can you convert it to a different format?" "I can, but it'll mess up the formatting. Tables will shift, page breaks will be wrong. What if we reformatted it manually?" Maya asked. "I know it would take time, but we need these to look professional." Pierre checked his watch. "I have another customer coming in 20 minutes for a big job. I don't have time to reformat 80 pages. Maya looked at Helena, then back at Pierre. "What if I did it? If you show me how your system works, I can reformat the documents while you help your other customer. I used to do desktop publishing for my college newspaper." Pierre considered this. "You know how to use layout software?" "I'm a quick learner." He showed her the basics, and Maya sat down at his computer. Helena stood behind her, directing her on which changes to make, explaining in Portuguese what each document was supposed to look like. Maya's fingers flew across the keyboard, adjusting margins, fixing page breaks, making sure everything looked clean and professional. It took 45 minutes. Pierre checked the files when they were done and nodded approvingly. "Good work. These will print beautifully now." While the documents printed, Maya called Lucia to check in. The retired translator was on her way and would arrive at the cafe in about 15 minutes. Maya told her they'd meet her there. Helena's phone rang. She answered in Portuguese, and Maya could tell from her tone that it was one of her business colleagues. Helena's face went from stress to panicked as she listened. "What's wrong?" Maya asked when Helena hung up. "That was my business partner in Brazil. The American investors want some last-minute changes to the contract terms. He's going to email me the new terms, but they're in English and I need to review them before the meeting. I don't understand legal English well enough to know if these changes are acceptable. Forward me the email when you get it. I'll translate it for you. They rushed back to the cafe. Lucia was waiting outside, an elegant woman in her 70s with silver hair and kind eyes. Maya made quick introductions, and the two women switched to Portuguese, discussing the meeting details, the key points Helena needed to communicate, the technical terms that might come up. Helena's phone pinged. The email had arrived. She forwarded it to Maya, who opened it on her phone and started reading. It was dense legal language about partnership terms, profit sharing, intellectual property rights. Maya read it carefully, then translated it for Helena in simpler Portuguese, explaining what each clause meant. This part here, Maya pointed at a paragraph. They're changing the timeline for the first payment. Instead of 30 days, they want 60 days. Is that okay for your cash flow? Helena thought about it, then nodded. Yes, that's acceptable. But this clause here is new. They're adding language about exclusive distribution rights in North America. You need to negotiate that. Don't agree to it in the meeting without getting something in return. Helena stared at her. How do you know this? I help a lot of small business owners in my community. You pick up things. Plus, I read a lot. Maya scrolled through the rest of the document. The rest looks standard. But you should have your lawyer in Brazil review this before you sign anything final. She forwarded the translation to Helena's phone, along with her notes about which terms were good and which needed negotiation. The clock on the cafe wall showed 1:15. 45 minutes until the meeting. You need to eat something, Maya said. When's the last time you had a real meal? Yesterday on the plane. Maya went behind the counter and made Helena a sandwich, poured her fresh coffee, and packed it all to go. Lucia and Helena could eat on the way to the meeting. She also printed out Maya's notes about the contract terms so Helena would have them for reference. As they prepared to leave, Helena grabbed Maya's hand. I don't know how to thank you. You've saved my life today. Literally saved it. This meeting, this deal, it's everything to my company. If I had shown up unprepared, unable to communicate without the right materials, I would have lost everything. You're going to do great, Maya said. Lucia is an amazing translator. You've got all your materials. You know what you need to negotiate. Just be confident. You clearly know what you're doing or you wouldn't have gotten this far. Can I pay you? Please, whatever you want. Maya shook her head. No, I'm just glad I could help. But you can do me one favor. Anything. If you see someone else who needs help someday, help them. That's how this works. We take care of each other. Helena nodded, tears in her eyes again. She hugged Maya tightly, then pulled back and looked her in the eye. What's your full name? I want to remember you. Maya Chen. Helena typed it carefully into her phone. I won't forget this. I promise you I will find a way to repay this kindness. Maya smiled. You already did. You let me help. That's enough. She watched as Helena and Lucia walked out of the cafe together, talking in rapid Portuguese, preparing for the meeting that would determine Helena's future. The door closed behind them and Maya stood alone in the quiet cafe. Her phone buzzed. 6 messages from her evening students. 2 missed calls from her mom and a reminder that she had a tutoring session at 6. Normal life calling her back. Jamie walked through the door, back from his bank errand. Hey, sorry that took so long. The line was insane. Did I miss anything? Maya looked at him and smiled. No, just a regular morning. She went back behind the counter, wiped down the espresso machine, and got ready for the lunch rush. Just another day at Corner Brew. Just another stranger helped. She had no idea that in 2 hours Helena's meeting would go better than anyone could have imagined. She had no idea that this simple act of kindness would change her entire life. Sometimes you help people because it's the right thing to do, not because you expect anything in return. But the universe has a funny way of keeping score. The lunch rush hit Corner Brew like it always did, right at noon. Office workers streaming in with complicated orders, tourists asking for recommendations, regulars who just wanted their usual. Maya moved through it all on autopilot, her hands making drinks while her mind wandered to Helena. She wondered if the meeting had started yet, if the documents had printed clearly enough. If Lucia was translating well, Maya! I ordered a vanilla latte, not caramel. She snapped back to reality. Right. Focus. She apologized and remade the drink, adding an extra shot as a sorry. The customer left happy and Maya reminded herself to pay attention. This was her job. Her actual job, not running around the city solving problems for strangers. But she couldn't stop thinking about Helena's face. That look of desperate hope when Maya had switched to Portuguese. The relief that flooded through her when she realized someone understood, someone could help. Maya knew that feeling too well. It lived in her memory like an old photograph, a little faded but still clear enough to remember every detail. Jamie bumped her shoulder as he reached for the milk steamer. "You okay? You seem distracted." "Yeah, just tired. You're always tired. Maybe you should cut back on those night classes you teach. You can't save everyone, you know." Maya smiled but didn't answer. People had been telling her that for years. Her mom said it every time they talked on the phone. Her friend said it when she canceled plans because someone needed help with immigration paperwork. Even Mr. Kim had hinted at it a few times, worried she was burning herself out, but they didn't understand. Maya wasn't trying to save everyone. She was just trying to give back what had been given to her. Every person she helped was a thank you to the people who'd helped her family when they had nothing. The neighbor who drove her dad to job interviews. The teacher who bought Maya school supplies with her own money. The church group that donated clothes when Maya's family couldn't afford new ones. Those people hadn't known them. Hadn't owed them anything. They just helped because that's what decent people did. And now Maya was in a position to do the same, so she did. It was that simple. The lunch rush finally died down around 1:30. Maya checked her phone. No messages from Helena, but that made sense. She'd be in her meeting by now. Or maybe preparing for it. Going over her notes one last time with Lucia. "I'm taking my break," Maya told Jamie. She grabbed the day-old muffin that was left over from the morning and sat at her usual table by the window. The sun was bright outside, making her squint. People walked by with their phones, their shopping bags, their lives. Everyone had somewhere to be, something important to do. Maya thought about her own life. 28 years old, still working the same barista job she'd started right after college. She'd gotten a degree in communications, thinking maybe she'd work in marketing or public relations or something, but then her dad had gotten sick and the medical bills piled up and she'd needed a job fast. Any job. Corner Brew had been hiring, that was 5 years ago. Her dad was better now, mostly recovered, but Maya was still here. Making lattes, wiping down counters, living paycheck to paycheck in a city where rent kept climbing and her bank account stayed flat. Sometimes she wondered if this was all her life would ever be. Not that there was anything wrong with being a barista. Honest work was honest work, but she'd had bigger dreams once. Vague, undefined dreams about doing something meaningful, making a difference somehow. Her phone buzzed. A text from one of her students, asking if they could reschedule tonight's session because his work shift changed. Maya texted back that it was fine, they'd figure out another time. That freed up her evening unexpectedly. Maybe she'd actually go home and rest for once. Watch something mindless on TV. Eat dinner that didn't come from the cafe. The door chimed. Maya glanced up out of habit. It was Helena. She burst through the door with an energy that was completely different from this morning. Her whole face was glowing. Lucia was right behind her, smiling too. They rushed over to Maya's table and Helena grabbed both her hands. "We did it. Maya, we did it." The meeting was perfect. Maya stood up, genuinely thrilled. "Really? They approved the partnership?" "Yes, everything." They loved the presentation. The documents you helped prepare looked so professional. And Lucia was incredible. She translated everything perfectly, even the technical terms. They were so impressed that I came prepared despite all the problems. One of them even commented on how professional my materials were. Lucia laughed. Helena was magnificent. She knew exactly what to say, exactly when to negotiate. Those notes you gave her about the contract? She used every single point. Got them to modify 3 different clauses in her favor. And the exclusivity clause I warned you about? Helena beamed. I negotiated it. They wanted exclusive distribution rights in North America, but I got them to agree to exclusive rights only in the United States and Canada, with options for me to pursue partnerships in Mexico separately. Plus, they increased the advance payment by 15% to compensate. That's amazing. Helena, that's incredible. It's because of you, all of it. If you hadn't helped me this morning, I would have walked into that meeting completely unprepared, probably would have cried in front of everyone and ruined everything I've spent 5 years building. Maya felt her face get warm. She wasn't good with praise. I just helped you get organized. You did all the hard stuff. You're the one who knew your business well enough to negotiate like that. No. Helena's voice was firm. Don't minimize what you did. You saw someone who needed help and you dropped everything to help them. You used your languages, your contacts, your time. You didn't know me. You didn't know if I was telling the truth about any of this. You just helped because you could. Other customers in the cafe were starting to stare at them. Maya became aware that they were making a scene and she felt embarrassed. Mr. Kim was probably watching from the back office, wondering what was going on. I'm just glad it worked out, Maya said quietly. Really, that's the best payment I could get knowing you succeeded. Helena pulled out her phone. Give me your contact information. Your phone number, email, everything. I want to stay in touch. Oh, you don't have to. Please, I mean it. You did something incredible for me today. And I don't want to just walk away and forget about it. Give me your information. Maya recited her phone number and email. Helena typed it all carefully into her phone, double-checking the spelling. Then she looked at Maya with an expression that was hard to read. Thoughtful, maybe, like she was figuring something out. What do you do, Maya? What's your job? I'm a barista here. Maya gestured at the cafe around them. And at night you teach English to immigrants? Yeah, at the community center on 5th Street. It's just a few hours, couple times a week. And you speak 6 languages fluently? I guess so, yeah. Helena exchanged a look with Lucia. Something passed between them, some unspoken communication. Then Helena smiled at Maya. I have to catch a flight back to Brazil tonight, but I'll be in touch soon. Very soon, I promise. She hugged Maya again, thanked her about 15 more times, and then left with Lucia. Through the window, Maya watched them walk down the street together, still talking animatedly. Then they turned the corner and disappeared. Maya went back behind the counter. Jamie was grinning at her, so who was that? She seemed really excited. Just someone I helped this morning. She had a business meeting. Must have been some help. She looked like you'd saved her life or something. I just made some phone calls. No big deal. But as Maya went back to making coffee and ringing up orders, she felt lighter somehow. Happier. There was something deeply satisfying about seeing Helena succeed, about knowing that a few hours of effort had made such a huge difference in someone's life. This was why she did it. This feeling right here, it wasn't about the money or recognition or anything like that. It was just about making someone's impossible day possible, about being the person for someone else that others had been for her. The afternoon crawled by. Maya's shift ended at 2, but Mr. Kim asked if she could stay an extra hour because one of the evening workers called in sick. She agreed. Even though her feet were killing her and she'd been up since 5:30, the extra money would help, and it wasn't like she had plans anymore since her student had canceled. By 3 o'clock, she was finally free. She walked home through the busy Seattle streets, dodging tourists and business people. Her studio apartment was on the 4th floor of an old building with no elevator. By the time she climbed all the stairs, she was ready to collapse. The apartment was small, but it was hers. One room that served as bedroom, living room, and kitchen. A tiny bathroom with a shower that only gave hot water if you were lucky. She'd tried to make it nice with plants and posters and string lights, but it was still basically a box with a bed in it. Maya kicked off her shoes and fell onto her couch, which was also technically her bed since she couldn't afford both. Her phone buzzed with messages. Her mom asking if she was eating enough. Her college roommate sharing a funny video. A reminder about bills due next week. She thought about Helena, wondered what her life was like back in Brazil. Probably had a nice house, a real apartment with separate rooms. Probably had a good salary, savings in the bank, plans for the future. That meeting today was worth millions of dollars, millions. Maya couldn't even imagine having that kind of money. Not that she was jealous. She wasn't, everyone's path was different. Helena had clearly worked hard to build her business. She deserved her success, and Maya was happy with her life mostly. She helped people, she had friends, she was doing okay. But sometimes, late at night when the bills were piling up and her body ached from standing all day, Maya wondered if there was supposed to be more. If this was really all her life would ever be. Her phone rang. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. Hello? Maya? It's Helena. Oh, hi. I wasn't expecting to hear from you so soon. Did you make your flight okay? I'm at the airport now. Listen, I wanted to talk to you about something. Do you have a few minutes? Maya sat up straighter. Helena's voice sounded serious. Sure, of course. Is everything okay? Everything's fine. Better than fine. I've been thinking about today. About everything you did for me, and I want to know more about you. Tell me about yourself, your education, your work history, your goals. Okay. I mean, there's not much to tell. I got a communications degree from University of Washington, worked at the campus newspaper doing layout design. After graduation, I needed a job fast because of family stuff, so I started at Corner Brew. I've been there for 5 years now, and I teach English classes at night like I mentioned. Why just a barista? With your language skills and your education, you could be doing so much more. Maya felt a little defensive again. There's nothing wrong with being a barista. No, of course not. I'm sorry, that came out wrong. I just mean. Maya, do you realize how rare your skill set is? 6 languages, the ability to think fast under pressure, problem-solving skills, cultural intelligence. You helped me navigate an incredibly complex situation in a matter of hours. Coordinating with multiple people in multiple languages. That's not something just anyone can do. I help people. It's not that special. It's very special. Most people wouldn't have bothered. And even if they wanted to help, they wouldn't have known how. You didn't just care, you were competent. That's a rare combination. Maya didn't know what to say to that. She picked at a thread on her couch cushion. Helena continued. I run a large company. Maya. We operate in 40 countries across South America, North America, Europe, and Asia. We're constantly dealing with international partnerships, negotiations, cultural differences. And one of our biggest challenges is finding people who can truly bridge those gaps. People who don't just speak the languages, but understand the cultures. Who can solve problems creatively, who genuinely care about helping people communicate. That sounds like a really interesting company. It is, and I think you'd be perfect for it. Maya's heart skipped. What do you mean? I want to offer you a job. A real job in my company. Director of International Relations. You'd help coordinate our partnerships across different countries, facilitate communications, travel to our various offices, train our teams on cultural competency. It's a big job with a lot of responsibility. Maya couldn't breathe. This had to be a joke. Helena, I'm a barista. I don't have experience running international relations for a major company. You have exactly the experience I need. You proved that today. And what you don't know, you'll learn. I'm good at reading people, Maya. It's how I built my company, and I see something special in you. Something that can't be taught in business school. I can't just leave my job and move to Brazil. I have students who depend on me. I have responsibilities here. You wouldn't have to move to Brazil. We have an office in Seattle. You'd be based there, with regular travel to our other locations. The salary would be substantial. 6 figures to start, full benefits, travel expenses covered, and the position would give you the resources to help even more people than you do now. You could create programs, hire tutors, make a real systemic difference instead of just helping one person at a time. Maya's head was spinning. 6 figures? She made barely $30,000 a year at the cafe. 6 figures would mean she could pay off her dad's medical bills, could move to a real apartment, could actually save money for the future. Why me? Maya asked quietly. You don't really know me. We just met this morning. I know enough. I know you dropped everything to help a stranger. I know you have skills that most people don't have. I know you're smart and resourceful and kind. And honestly, I trust my instincts. They've never steered me wrong. This is crazy. This doesn't happen in real life, Helena laughed. It does happen. Just not very often. Listen, I'm not asking you to decide right now. Think about it. I'll be back in Seattle in 2 weeks for a follow-up meeting. We can have coffee, talk more about what the job would involve. No pressure. Just a conversation. Can you give me that? Maya's mind was racing. This was insane. People didn't get dream jobs offered to them out of nowhere. This stuff happened in movies, not in real life. Not to baristas who lived in studio apartments and taught free English classes. But then again, this morning she wouldn't have believed that helping a lost tourist would lead to any of this. Okay, Maya heard herself say. Okay, yeah. We can talk more when you're back in town. Wonderful. I'll be in touch soon to set up a time. Thank you, Maya, for everything today, and for being open to this possibility. They said goodbye and hung up. Maya sat on her couch, phone still in her hand, staring at nothing. A job, a real job with real money. Doing something that actually mattered, using her languages not just to help one person here and there, but to build bridges between entire countries. It sounded too good to be true. It probably was too good to be true. Helena would probably think about it more and realize she'd made a mistake offering a job to someone she'd just met. Or the company wouldn't approve it. Or there'd be some catch, some reason it wouldn't work out. But for just this moment, sitting in her tiny apartment with the afternoon sun coming through the window, Maya let herself imagine it. Let herself hope. Maybe her life was about to change. Maybe helping that one lost stranger had been the thing that finally led somewhere bigger. Or maybe nothing would come of it, and she'd be back at the cafe tomorrow, making the same lattes for the same customers. Either way, she'd still helped Helena, and that was enough. That had to be enough. But deep down, in a place she barely wanted to acknowledge, Maya hoped it was more. Maya didn't tell anyone about Helena's job offer. Not her mom, not her co-workers, not even her best friend Rachel, who she told everything to. It felt too fragile, like if she said it out loud, the whole thing would disappear like smoke. The next 2 weeks were the strangest of her life. She went to work every morning at the cafe, made the same drinks, served the same customers. But everything felt different now, like she was standing in two worlds at once. The world where she was just Maya the barista, and some other possible world where she was someone completely different. She caught herself daydreaming during the morning rush, imagining what it would be like to work in an office, to travel to different countries for her job, to actually use all 6 of her languages every single day instead of just occasionally, to make enough money that she didn't have to check her bank account before buying groceries. Earth to Maya. Jamie snapped his fingers in front of her face. You've been staring at that espresso machine for like 3 minutes. You okay? Sorry, yeah, just tired. It was her default excuse, and it was wearing thin. But what was she supposed to say? That maybe, possibly her entire life was about to change because she'd helped a stranger 2 weeks ago? It sounded ridiculous even in her own head. She kept expecting Helena to call and say it was all a mistake, that her company had reviewed the offer and decided Maya wasn't qualified, that they'd found someone better. But the call never came. Instead, Helena texted her a few days after their phone conversation, just checking in, asking how she was doing. Then a few days after that, another text with a photo of the Brazilian sunset and a message saying she was looking forward to their meeting. It felt real, too real. Maya didn't know how to handle it. She threw herself into her evening classes, teaching English with even more focus than usual. Chen was preparing for his citizenship test, and she spent 2 extra hours with him going over practice questions. The Rodriguez family needed help with their daughter's college applications, so Maya stayed up until midnight helping edit her essays. Mrs. Okafor had a job interview, and Maya did a mock interview with her, teaching her common questions and how to answer them confidently. These people needed her. They depended on her. How could she even think about leaving? But then again, with a real salary, she could hire other tutors, could actually pay people to teach instead of relying on volunteers, could create something sustainable instead of just running herself into the ground, trying to help everyone alone.